Before the yachts, before the Basilica, before the ring that could blind you from across the room, there was a secret romance. Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon and once the richest man on the planet, had been married to Mackenzie Scott for 25 years. Lauren Sánchez, a former news anchor and helicopter pilot, was married to talent agent Patrick Whitesell. But sparks flew, and by 2019, the tabloids had exploded. The National Enquirer leaked texts and private photos. Paparazzi followed their every move. Suddenly, Bezos' very private life was global front-page news. But instead of running, Jeff and Lauren leaned in. They made it clear, this wasn't just a fling. It was the start of something real. Over the next few years, we saw a transformation. Bezos started dressing differently, more confident, more expressive. Lauren became a regular at high-profile galas and space launches. Together, they were redefining what billionaire love looked like. Then came the ring. In May 2023, during a luxurious Mediterranean cruise aboard Bezos' $500 million yacht Kourou, Jeff proposed. The ring, a 20-carat pink diamond rumored to be worth over $2.5 million. The answer? A tearful yes. And just like that, the countdown to the most anticipated wedding in celebrity history had begun. 2. The Venice takeover, 4 to 7:30. Jeff Bezos could have had his wedding anywhere. So why Venice? Because Venice is timeless, romantic, regal, and also exclusive. But not everyone was thrilled. As news spread that Venice would host the Bezos wedding, environmental groups protested. The city, already under pressure from over-tourism and rising tides, didn't want another mega event. Posters appeared saying, "No space for Bezos." Activists argued that billionaires were turning historic cities into their playgrounds. But despite the criticism, Venice became a billionaire's paradise. Multiple islands were rented out. Entire hotel floors were blocked for VIPs. Security was flown in from 3 countries. The rehearsal dinner took place aboard Kourou, the yacht so large it can't even dock in most harbors. The wedding itself? A secretive ceremony at San Giorgio Maggiore, a 16th century Benedictine church that hadn't hosted a private wedding in years. Locals were stunned, tourists were pushed back, and the stage was set. 3. The ceremony unveiled, June 27, 2025. As the sun rose over Venice, the city was no longer just a tourist destination. It was the stage for history. At the majestic San Giorgio Maggiore Basilica, final preparations were underway. This wasn't just a wedding, it was a cinematic production. Hundreds of florists, planners, security experts, and stylists worked in complete secrecy. Lauren Sánchez arrived first. She stepped out of a black Venetian gondola in a custom 900-hour couture gown by Dolce & Gabbana. The dress, an ivory masterpiece with hand-stitched lace, flowing tulle, and a sweeping train that trailed across the marble steps. On her wrist, a diamond bracelet that once belonged to Bezos' grandmother. In her hair, vintage pins styled to match her earrings. It was old-world glamour, reimagined. Then came Jeff, dressed in a classic cream tuxedo by Tom Ford. Bezos looked like a man reborn. Gone was the tech CEO in fleece vests. This was a groom who had fully stepped into his second act, bold, confident, and completely in love. Inside the candlelit church, only 150 guests were invited. Phones were banned. No photos leaked. Everything was to be experienced, not captured. And then the music began. Matteo Bocelli, son of Andrea Bocelli, took the stage and performed a stirring Italian aria as Lauren walked down the aisle. When she reached Jeff, witnesses say he wiped away tears. Not billionaire tears, real ones. Their vows were handwritten, deeply personal. And when they exchanged rings, both designed by Cartier, the crowd erupted into quiet, elegant applause. 2-4. The celebrity guest list. Who gets invited to the richest wedding on earth? Only the most powerful people in the world. The guest list included Kim Kardashian, wearing a figure-hugging black Balenciaga gown. Leonardo DiCaprio, rumored to have once dated Lauren. Oprah Winfrey, a longtime friend of Bezos. Jay-Z and Beyoncé, who arrived on their own yacht. Tom Cruise, Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom, Serena Williams, and more. Billionaire tech friends like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and Mark Zuckerberg were all invited, though some sent regrets. Everyone was required to follow a strict code. No selfies, no leaks, dressed like you're attending a royal coronation. As guests left the church, they were handed Murano glass favors, specially crafted for each attendee. Some even had their initials embedded in gold. One guest reportedly said, "This isn't a wedding. This is the Met Gala meets the Godfather, with a love story at the center." And they weren't wrong. 2-5, the after-party of the century. If the ceremony was classic and elegant, the after-party was wild, unforgettable, and uniquely Bezos. The reception theme, Dolce Notte, or Sweet Night. And that night was anything but ordinary. The party kicked off at the Arsenale di Venezia, a massive historical dockyard transformed into a dreamscape of candlelight, velvet lounges, and floating lanterns. Guests swapped their gowns and tuxedos for designer pajamas and latex-inspired couture. Yes, latex. This wasn't your grandmother's reception. Lauren wore a shimmering silver silk slip dress with a fur shawl. Jeff changed into a velvet Dolce & Gabbana robe, monogrammed of course. There were no phones allowed inside. Only a few blurry paparazzi shots ever made it out. But here's what we do know. A live orchestra played a medley of guests danced under a dome of mirrored disco balls. Custom cocktails were inspired by Bezos and Lauren's love story. Guests were gifted slippers at the door so they could dance all night. And when the music turned up, foam machines were wheeled in. Yes, a billionaire foam party in Venice. Only Jeff Bezos could pull that off without it feeling out of place. As the clock neared 3 a.m., guests were ferried back to their hotels by private boats or straight onto yachts. And just like that, the most exclusive wedding after-party in years became legend. 6. The cost of love. So what does all this cost? According to reports, the total cost of the wedding hovered around €40 to €48 million. That's roughly 50 million USD. Here's the breakdown. San Giorgio Maggiore rental, estimated at $3 million. With historical preservation fees, security, and logistics, $5 million plus, including no-fly zones, island patrols, and airspace monitoring. Custom fashion and jewelry, $2 million plus, just Lauren's dress cost over $400,000. Murano glass favors, estimated at $500,000 for 150 bespoke pieces. Guest lodging, dozens of suites in the gritty palace, Amman, and private villas. After-party decor, DJ, foam setup and catering, $15 million alone. Transport, 5 yachts, 3 private planes, and countless gondolas. But the biggest expense wasn't even money. It was the reputation cost. Local activists staged protests chanting, "Billionaires out of Venice." Environmentalists pointed to the hypocrisy. Luxury yachts in a city sinking due to climate change. Still, Bezos responded quietly by reportedly donating €1 million to a local heritage preservation group, and by requesting no wedding gifts, only charitable donations. Was it enough? Opinions were divided, but the couple didn't seem fazed. 7. Jeff's post-wedding transformation. Just weeks after the wedding, the internet noticed something. Jeff Bezos looked different. Gone was the clean-shaven, nerdy tech billionaire from 2005. In his place, a bronzed, bulked-up designer-wearing man who looked more Hollywood than Harvard. He debuted a new hairstyle, slicked back with volume, a departure from his usual bald look. Paparazzi spotted him on holiday in Sun Valley kissing Lauren, wearing $2,000 leather jackets and smiling more than ever before. Social media erupted. Bezos got married and turned into a Bond villain, one post joked. Jeff 2.0 is actually a vibe, said another. But jokes aside, people began to realize something deeper. Bezos wasn't just celebrating love. He was reinventing himself. Post-wedding interviews and appearances showed a more relaxed, expressive Jeff. He talked more about climate change, space exploration, and legacy. He was no longer chasing quarterly reports. He was chasing meaning. And Lauren Sanchez wasn't just along for the ride. She was helping steer the ship. 8. The media and public reaction. The media circus around the wedding was enormous. Mainstream outlets like Vogue, People, and Vanity Fair called it a wedding for the modern monarchy. Others weren't as kind. Critics slammed the couple for flaunting extreme wealth in a time of economic crisis. Italian newspapers published letters from Venice locals calling the wedding a cultural invasion disguised as romance. Activist groups staged protests at the port, accusing Bezos Bezos of environmental hypocrisy, especially given the scale of his mega yacht and space ventures. Yet the love story still captivated people. On TikTok, wedding edits went viral. Pinterest boards exploded with screenshots of Lauren's dress. Instagram influencers recreated the wedding's floral style on a budget. And across YouTube, creators and fashion commentators began debating. Was this the return of luxury love stories? Even those who criticized the cost couldn't look away, because no matter how you felt about Bezos, the wedding was unforgettable. 9. The personal touches. What made this wedding more than just a billionaire show? The small things. Lauren Sanchez changed her Instagram name just days later to Lauren Bezos. A quiet but powerful move that touched millions of fans. Bezos' children, previously kept away from the spotlight, were present, standing beside him during key moments. It showed that this was more than a remarriage. It was the building of a new, blended family. Jeff reportedly gave a private speech at the after-party, thanking Lauren for restoring joy to his life. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. And to close the weekend, the couple hosted a small brunch for locals and wedding staff, thanking them for protecting the privacy of the event. It was rare. It was graceful. It was human. 10. Conclusion and legacy. So what will history say about the wedding of Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez? Was it just a billionaire flex in a fragile world? Or was it something more? A story of love, transformation, and power redefined? It's easy to see only the extravagance, the gowns, the yachts, the foam parties. But look closer, and you'll see something deeper. This wasn't just a wedding, it was a message. Jeff Bezos, once a shy book nerd who disrupted retail, now stands as a symbol of luxury, reinvention, and emotional openness. And Lauren Sanchez, once a news anchor in the background, now commands stages, headlines, and hearts. Together, they flipped the script on what it means to be a power couple. They embraced their controversy, they owned their story, and they wrote a new one with rose petals, Murano glass, and handwritten vows. In a world of curated images and fake perfection, this wedding, for better or worse, was real. It was loud, it was bold, it was unapologetic. And whether you admired it or judged it, you couldn't look away. Call to action. So, what did you think of the Bezos wedding? Was it over the top or perfectly on brand? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this inside look, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell, because we've got more exclusive deep dives coming your way. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay curious.